Hey guys, welcome to Beyond the Screen Weekly. My name's Marlene.
And I'm Blake, and this is our non-spoiler review for The Batman.
So Blake, what were your initial thoughts coming out of that theater?
I thought it was a great movie, man. Like, not just a great comic book movie, but a great overall movie in general. I think it's overall the best Batman story we've got on screen, like a live action Batman. Um, and just overall the movie, with it being more like a ground level, realistic version of Batman, I think we've got a really good detective story along with Batman story as well. We got him truly being the world's greatest detective, and we got just a fantastic Batman story.
Yeah, I think the best thing for me with this movie, even though you could tell it's a 3 hour movie, it did feel like a trilogy all tied up in a nice bow in one movie. For me, like when I came out of that movie, I was like, was that Batman? Like I just watched Batman, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what I just watched. Like it was very interesting to see that like this is what they came up with at the end of the day. But yeah, for me, it wasn't just a Batman movie, right? It was a great crime, murder mystery type of movie that like really just like blew me away.
Yeah, it definitely did blow me.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as the story goes, like how did you feel they handled this 3 hour, essentially saga?
Yeah, I think it was paced really well. Like you were saying, it is definitely a 3 hour long movie, and you can definitely tell that it is long. But when you're watching it, you don't ever get bored. You're sitting there, stuff's constantly happening. It starts out a little slow, but obviously it kind of builds as it progresses, and I think it's paced really well. It's like a really natural way the story is told. Nothing feels forced or kind of shoehorned in or anything like that. It is just a really, really well paced movie for how long it is. And nothing feels like it. I can't really cut it down anymore. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you could have made a 2 hour and 20 minute long Batman movie, but what 25 minutes am I going to cut out of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I mean, I did feel like I got a little. I wish I got a little bit more of some side characters, a little bit more in
A
it.
little bit, yeah.
But outside of that, like, I mean, for 3 hours, like this, it didn't. I was at one point I felt like I didn't get enough. Like it's very rare that I'll go into a movie like this. I think the last time I've ever felt like that was like when I first watched, Lord of the Rings, those first three trilogy, or when The Hobbit came out again. I was like, yo, this was it. I'm like, The Hobbit was one book that made into three movies, right? And similar stuff that Matt Reeves has already done, like Cloverfield or Let Me In. Like Let Me In was a really good movie that like I was like, as far as horror goes and like as far as the story plays out, like it really does at some points feel like a horror movie because
Hmm.
whether it's the Riddler, acting like Jigsaw, or Batman is literally like Michael Myers hunting down these
Yeah,
villains. It's
definitely.
scary.
There's a point in the beginning of the movie when he's kind of like stepping out of the shadows, and the way the music's bumping and like how it's filmed, like this guy looks like a freaking horror movie villain, and it's badass, and you can see why these criminals are going to be afraid of him. Like, they're, not to get too far into spoilers, but people are scared of this Batman. Like, they're not taking him lightly. Like, he will beat the hell out of you, and he is scary.
Yeah, and mind you, like I mean, all the promotional stuff. This is a young Batman.
Yeah,
This is a young
he's new.
Alfred.
This is a year two Batman.
Yes, 2 years in the game, and you really can instill fear from a single symbol in the sky,
Yep.
and that kind of goes back to these other characters that are there. Like they're very fully aware of who the Batman is and what he stands for. So like I mean, when it came to like side characters, I mean we can just start with Detective Gordon to begin with. Like how do you think Jeffrey Wright like encapsulated of like what you saw from previous Commissioner Gordon's, and how do you think he handled the role?
He killed it. He absolutely murdered this role. Um, I mean, him just. I don't want to get into spoilers. Obviously, I'm a massive Gary Oldman fan. I love Gary Oldman from The Dark Knight. I think the Dark Knight trilogy. I think he did a great job as Commissioner Gordon. But Jeffrey Wright, I think, takes the cake for the best on-screen Gordon we've got so far. Without going too far into spoilers again, it's just he's kind of right along there throughout the whole story. He's not a side character. I think he's almost pretty much a main character in this movie, and he's right alongside Batman the whole time almost.
Yeah, and then speaking back on Batman, like how did you best Batman live action?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying in the beginning of us filming here, it's the best Batman story. So you get the most encompassing like Batman. Like he truly feels like it. We've had obviously like the Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and stuff. Those movies, I feel with the Dark Knight especially. When I think of the Dark Knight as a movie, the first thing that pops in your head is the Joker.
No, yeah, 100%. Like I think when I think back to this movie, like they're like I mean, the Penguin, Catwoman's in it. You got Commissioner Gordon. You have the Riddler. You have other characters without going into spoilers that are kind of hinted or in there, right? But at the end of the day, what I remember from this film, Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Absolutely. I don't. The first thing I don't think of. I mean, obviously the Riddler in this is fantastic. First of all, but um, I think the main star of the show, which obviously should be, is Robert Pattinson. In previous iterations of Batman, we're like, oh my god, the Joker.
Yeah.
Bane was badass in The
Yeah,
Dark Knight
like,
Rises. you
Bane
know what
was
I mean?
crazy. I
But-
think of Joker. I think of I think of Scarecrow. Like as much as I like the original, the original trilogy.
I love those movies so
I
much.
love those ones, but I didn't watch it or walk away feeling like, oh my god, Batman was hella cool. I was like, bro, I fell in love with these villains, and looking at the other films, it's like they kind of did encapsulate as Batman more, but they had these side characters that stole the show. Or costumes that stole the show, not talking about you, George Clooney, but the nips should never have happened.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. But think
but-
about back to the side characters. Like, what did you think of Colin Farrell as the Penguin?
Batman murdered it. Absolutely murdered it. He like hands down to the makeup team in this. You literally cannot recognize him. No way is that Colin Farrell. But seeing his performance, like I'm not sitting there looking at him like, oh, that's an actor. I'm like, that's the friggin' Penguin.
That's the Penguin.
It's like he's ripped straight out of like the animated series or like straight out of a
Yeah.
comic book page. He is just the best. Like no disrespect to my boy Danny DeVito, but Colin Farrell killed it. I can't wait to see. So they announced, I don't know if you saw it a while back, there's a Penguin series coming out.
I did see it coming out, and it makes sense. Like when you guys go and watch this film, like
Yeah.
you understand where it's going. But I mean, the same thing. Like I feel like every single side character did not feel shoehorned, like you said. It didn't feel rushed. I think
one
Zoe
kinda had-
Zoe Kravitz killed it.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. She wasn't shoehorned in at all. Like she was a part of the story. Obviously, like we can't go into it, but she's there for a reason.
yeah,
And she has a purpose to be there. She's not just I'm here because we need Catwoman in the movie. And she killed it as the role of Catwoman too. Same thing with Commissioner Gordon. Same thing with Penguin, Falcone. They're all great characters. I was surprised with Falcone. Honestly, John Turturro, I really am not too familiar with his work other than like The Big Lebowski.
Hey, sneaky. I like feet. Like that. That's how I know
True.
from Mr. Deeds. He's
From
from Mr. Deeds.
I forgot he's in Mr. Deeds.
He just
too.
walks around. I was just like, every time I see him, some people think Transformers. I instantly think of Mr. Deeds, where he's just like sneaky.
The
sir.
first thing I think of when I see John Turturro is The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, nobody mess with the Jesus.
Yeah, the Jesus rolls. That and then the Transformers movies, which he's like awful in it. I hate
Yeah,
it.
he's just like
So when I saw John Turturro was Falcone, I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, he's probably gonna be a side character. Like, so probably, I'm obviously can't.
yeah,
But he's a major player in this movie too.
I'm not gonna lie, just him as an actor coming with a lot of these different roles, especially in like these third party type of situations he's in. He really feels like he's kind of like stepping into like this Al Pacino role where he's like, you see him on screen.
You reminded me of Al Pacino in this movie.
100%. He reminded me of Al Pacino in this one. It's a very mobster movie. Like,
Yeah.
like a lot of people are not forgetting. Like, it's Batman, but like, dude, this is a crime scene movie. Like, it's
Absolutely.
really, really good. Like, they are literally called the world's greatest detective for a reason. Like, you really will see this throughout the movie, and it's I can't even emphasize this enough. It is a crime movie, murder mystery first, and it is a comic book second. Like they did such a fantastic job with this, and what really helped with that too is if I could just touch on one part in the movie, like that blew me away, was one that the car crash scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the trailer, but the music the score that they have playing
The
there.
score and the visuals in this
Dude,
movie. Oh,
he's walking towards you, and you can see it in the trailer. Is the initial chords of the Batman theme for him? Dum dum dum. It's reminiscent of Darth Vader when he's walking at you.
It's
just
just
see
so
this guy.
intimidating.
It's intimidating. And you see him, and it's like you can tell why people are scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think overall, like a fantastic movie. Like if you personally had to like give it out of 10, like what would you rate it?
Me personally, I do have a little bit of gripes with the movie, but they're honestly mostly nitpicks.
Yeah.
Nothing super major. I'd probably give it a 9.5. Honestly, I really don't have many issues with the movie at all.
Yeah, for me, like I personally would have liked some of these, supporting characters to have been a little bit more in there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say who is
yeah,
in the
there's
movie
certain
a lot,
characters I
but
wanted more in there. Yeah. But no, for me, like 8 out of 8.5, 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, but it is damn near there. And I think for a comic book movie, and I think it's the same thing with the Joker. Like we've seen them be able to take these characters, these universes, and spin them on their head to where it's what we know, but it's what we don't know.
Absolutely. And the fact that like this and the Joker were just two standalone movies. They're not a part of a big cinematic universe, something like the MCU where you're going to have to tie in all these characters.
Yeah, you'd have to force them to fit.
Yeah, like, oh, yeah, the new Spider-Man movie, I have to set up this and this and this while also making this story and fitting these other characters in. I have to have Doctor Strange in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Something like that.
Spoiler alert. Like for No Way Home, you had to essentially be familiar with almost 3 decades worth of film. So
yeah, exactly. It's a complete standalone movie. And same thing with the Joker. I think DC's going in a really cool direction right now. That they have like their interconnected stuff too. But right now, like their main like badass movies are these ones that are standalone, like this and the Joker.
Yeah.
This is really up here with like the great, not even just comic book movies, but movies in general.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So guys, at that point, we're gonna have our spoiler review coming out next couple days. If you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on those notifications, so you guys can stay tuned. Outside of that, any last words?
Go see the movie. It's great. I walked out of the movie immediately wanting a sequel, and I wanted to go see it again. So,
when are you gonna watch it again?
2 days.
2 days.
Day after tomorrow.
All right.
Soon.